2023's Godzilla Minus One. I know I'm late to the party, but I wasn't able to catch this in theaters, so here we go. I was torn in two directions about this movie, but only because I'm such a big Godzilla fan, I always want him to win. But in this one, I kinda wanted the humans to survive. Our main protagonist, Koichi, a kamikaze pilot, returns to a war-torn Japan in shame after abandoning his mission, only to find out his country is still being ravaged by the aftermath of the air raids in the form of Godzilla. I always found it fascinating that after the war, Godzilla was created to be an allegory for destruction. And here, this movie executes that idea perfectly. But I'll get back to that because this movie focuses mostly on the human characters, much like the 2014 legendary Godzilla film. But unlike that movie, this one doesn't kill off the most interesting character in the first act, and instead gives you more complex characters, more interesting characters, more down-to-earth and funny characters. I couldn't believe it, but I found myself caring about these characters. We got a guy dealing with his PTSD and shame after the war. Another guy who lost his friends and family because of that guy. A third guy trying to rebuild his life and live after the war. A fourth guy who wanted to prove himself and serve his country. A woman who lost her family and is eager to start her own. And a woman who heartbreakingly reminded me of the 2005 Hiroshima documentary that I think everyone should check out. It goes from one personal story after another, and it's just opens your eyes to the horrors of war. But enough with that, onto the neat stuff. The word was going around that this thing cost $15 million to make, but according to the director, he wishes. So apparently it cost them less. But this movie looks just as good, if not better, than most Hollywood movies today. And one thing that helped is that the writer and director was also a VFX artist, so he was behind every aspect of this film. He knew exactly what he wanted and he knew how to cut costs. And none of that cutting around the corners hurts this movie in any way. The pacing is solid. For the 2-hour runtime, it doesn't feel like 2 hours. The cinematography, solid. This movie looks great. And the CGI, while it stood out to me in some parts, it looks, you guessed it, solid. My only real complaint is that I didn't get as much Godzilla as I wanted. But I understand that if he was there all the time like in the legendary Godzilla films, it would really undercut the metaphor that he's this destructive force that just comes out of nowhere. We really need to see these characters living their lives with a hope of a better tomorrow to really understand what Godzilla is supposed to be. And you gotta love the extra layer to the metaphor when Godzilla's atomic blast looks like an atomic blast. Just a neat little detail I don't think anybody's talked about. Don't get me wrong, I don't think this is the best movie ever, but this is a don't miss out kind of movie. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.